Silence, you mewling quims!
I am the god of mischief. You don't tell me what to do.
This is the Fandom at Random podcast, and we've been burdened with glorious purpose. Welcome in to our random reaction episode of episode 1 of Loki.
Loki.
So we are going to be dipping our toes back into the MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but on the silver screen, the streaming universe, which has already been pretty damn good with WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Haven't disappointed at all.
Yep, and we, if you haven't already listened, again, go back, listen to our past episodes. We already did reviews on both WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yes, we did.
But one thing we haven't done with TV series yet, Brian, is we haven't really delved into a reaction episode.
Yeah, that's true.
And usually we wait till it's done, and then we give our entire opinion. And we're going to start, we want to react a little bit more, give our immediate opinions, because we talk about it as the season's going on. And we can kind of theorize where we think it's going, which I think is going to be fun.
Yeah, definitely.
And before we get into that, we've got the news at random, as always. A bunch of nerd-related shit has happened.
Big news.
I mean, yeah, we're going to get right into it here because right off the bat, I mean, it's video game season, Brian.
E3.
Yeah, so let's get into the news. News at random. E3 edition.
Making Ghostface twerk.
So we are in the midst of the E3, which is the Electronic Entertainment Expo.
All digital this time.
All digital. And, you know, we're not going to talk about it. We're actually recording this podcast pretty late in the week, pretty late at night. So we got to keep the energy up still, though. Brian, let's go. Let's go. So... E3, we're not going to talk about any spoilers or anything we've already seen or heard. We're actually going to talk about that in depth on our next episode.
Yep.
We want to dedicate everything to talking about the big announcements, all of the crazy shit going on in video game fandom, but there's already been a lot.
The good, the bad, and the bad, and the bad.
Nah, man. There's been some good announcements.
Some shining moments. Yeah.
And the reason we didn't want to do and cover E3 in this episode, even though it's happening right now, is because Nintendo isn't doing their conference until Tuesday. We normally release this podcast on a Monday, so we're like, you know what? Let us, all the announcements come out. We want to chew on it a bit. Give us some time to give our opinions on it. So that'll be next week.
Yes, sir.
But, Brian, I noticed you posted this on your socials here. Rob Zombie, he is bringing back the Munsters.
It is confirmed he's been after this project for years now. He's credited it to his horror career and everything else, and the rumors came out, 2 months ago, something like that, and finally it's confirmed. And I'm psyched. I mean, I
love the Munsters, man.
Yeah, I love the Munsters. I love Rob Zombie. I know he gets a lot of hate in the horror community, but this will let him show his talent if he has it. I think he does. I could be wrong, and I think this project is going to be the one where he can kind of shine. Or he could have Sherry Moon Zombie playing Lily Munster, is that what it is?
Yeah, Lily the mom, so the vampire mom.
Wearing a thong the whole time and shouting, "Sorry, Paul, cunt, fuck, piece of shit, motherfucker,"
I mean, the Munsters, for those of you who are horribly in the dark on the Munsters, check it out. The classic Munsters, so goddamn good. I remember back to the black and white days, and then it transitioned into color. Yeah. But I mean, the Munsters are pretty much like the Wish.com version of the Addams Family.
Yeah.
But it was so good. It was so comedic. It was more comedic, I think, than the Addams Family ever was.
Yeah, I think so.
And it was just so clever. So it'll be interesting to see Rob Zombie kind of do his take on this. And I personally hope, I'm hoping he doesn't make it full-on horror.
Right.
That's not what the Munsters are.
No.
The Munsters are, comedic. And yes, it's, Frankenstein's the dad, and the grandfather's a vampire, the son is a werewolf. But
it's a sitcom horror type setting, and I would like to believe that Rob Zombie has a true understanding of horror. What we've gotten has been his vision so far from his movies. I think he understands what made the Monsters so good and so funny, and he's going to stick to that and make it good.
And the name escapes me. I'm trying to think of the guy that played Herman Munster. Again, the dad, God. Frankenstein, but oh my God.
From My Cousin Vinny.
Yeah, he was incredible in that role. And I mean, to me, it's like you almost have to, if you're casting, you need to hit that out of the park.
Yeah.
With Herman Munster. Yeah. So be curious to see.
He has always been on point with casting. I'll tell you that much. Any one of his movies, except for his wife, obviously, who's just terrible. He has hit casting very well.
All right, cool. Well, speaking of casting news, Jensen Ackles.
I thought this was Bucky Barnes at first. I was looking at it on my phone.
So Jensen Ackles, we talked about this a little bit, but he was cast as Soldier Boy, who is going to be in the next season of Amazon's The Boys, which we're huge fans of. But they finally released his image in his costume. What's your opinion?
I mean, he looks like our good old buddy, America's ass.
Yeah,
from Infinity War.
Yeah, and you can definitely tell, and I mean, the character of Soldier Boy is a complete ripoff of Captain America. Yeah. So, just like Homelander, obviously, is Superman, and you can see it in the costume.
I think they went a little hard on the likeness with this one.
Yeah, they went very tactical green with it. It's got the shield. Green? It's definitely green. It's like a tactical army kind of green.
See, if I was looking at a bigger picture, it might look a little different, but right now it looks like when Cap has the two pointed gauntlets.
Yeah.
And straight out of the Battle in Infinity War.
There's no question it was influenced by Cap, and I mean the character itself was influenced by Cap.
Looks like a badass. This is the first time I've seen him in any other project where he doesn't look like Dean in one way or another.
Yeah, so I'm interested. We're huge Supernatural fans on this podcast, so I'm curious to see, and we're hoping that Jensen Ackles can do well, and I think he will. Maybe a little bit better than Sammy.
Yeah,
trying to play Walker, Texas Ranger.
Hey, don't hate. He was all right. But what you don't know is Sammy's going to be in The Boys. He's going to be called Nazi Boy, and it's going to be his brother. His brother, Nazi Boy, Sammy.
Let's talk some video game news. And again, we're not going to delve into E3, but this is all stuff that's just kind of been going on in the background. But huge video game drop this week.
Yeah.
A lot of people's most anticipated game of the year, Ratchet & Clank. So the new Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, it is a PS5 exclusive, and the reviews have been through the goddamn roof.
Yeah.
There have been, the Washington Post actually came out and said that this is the best PlayStation exclusive game since Bloodborne, which that's a high bar.
Yeah, that's a big call right there.
So I mean, Brian, you're a Sony fanboy. How do you feel knowing that you can't play this yet because it's a PS5 exclusive?
I think this is a game where the most hardcore Sony fanboys are gonna play it, and kids and the people who would have a PS5 right now. So it makes sense to me. It doesn't hurt as much as something like Bloodborne would hurt. Or Uncharted. So me personally,
God of War
doesn't affect me as much. If it was God of War,
Spider-Man,
I'd burn that motherfucker down. You best believe.
I love, we're just naming all these awesome Sony exclusives, and I don't even have to talk about the Xbox ones.
Yeah, those Xbox ones, the list is just too long to go through.
But I talked to my buddy Wayne, the Wayne Train. He's been on this podcast, choo-choo, multiple times. He's actually going to give me a quick, maybe 5 to 10 minute review. I'm going to talk to him this week. I might not be able to get him on the cast, but I might record it beforehand and just kind of plop it into the episode. So he'll give us his 2 cents on it, but critic reviews have been amazing.
I'm curious to see how the no loading screens works out.
Yeah. It's the future, man. Future of gaming.
The future.
Speaking of the future of gaming, We've got some Dark Souls related news.
Yeah.
All right, I should say From Software, the people that make the Souls games, Elden Ring. And again, this news came out before E3 even started. It was that, it Jeff Keighley's, like, whatever he was doing, it like
some
in addition to E3.
Thing, yeah, so
started before, but
we're not breaking our own rules right now. Yeah.
But Elden Ring, the trailer for Elden Ring finally dropped. It showed gameplay. It looks freaking awesome.
Yeah, if you're into that type of thing.
Oh, I'm into it, man. I'm into it hardcore. Yeah. Dude, this trailer dropped. I was instantly like right in my pants. But and for people that don't know why we use that drop or where that drop comes from all the time, that's actually from the original Dark Souls game. Anytime your character gets hit, he makes that sound.
Yeah,
so that's supposed to be him getting hurt.
So
but
I was just about
that doesn't sound like pain to me.
I was just about to make a comment about how these Blood Souls games get so weird. Like, if they toned it down a little bit, for me, it would be a little better. But shit like the sounds like that and the creatures they come up with are cool. But at the same time, by the end of the game, you're like, what the hell is going on here?
Yeah, and George Arg Martin. Instead of finishing the next Game of Thrones book, he's been working on this. So
Legend has it this is an endless game because he wrote it.
It could be.
Yeah.
And the ending's probably shit.
Yeah.
No, they blame D&D for that. But, yeah, I'm super excited. We've been begging for news. And we got a release date, January 21st, 2022. So hopefully they can hit that release date.
I will play it. Whether I finish it, it's like a 25% chance.
No, just like the new Game of Thrones book.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's probably not going to happen.
Probably.
Let's do some anime-related news.
Woo!
Pumped about this. So, Yoko Kanno, who is the composer behind the original soundtrack of Cowboy Bebop, one of the most iconic anime of all time, he is actually coming back to do the Cowboy Bebop live-action TV series that's coming out this fall on Netflix. And they actually also, some more news that dropped after I added this to our doc, but they showed some other images of the characters that are all playing. Oh my God, his name escapes me. From Harold and Kumar. Is it John Cho?
Yeah.
Believe his name is, but in any case, he's playing Spike Spiegel. He's got the full-on hair going. We saw the actress playing Faye Valentine.
So, clarify one thing for me first. Is this an anime about a dancing cowboy?
No.
Okay. Because, you know me, I don't know anime a lot. I know some of the mainstream animes. Every time I hear the name of this, all I can imagine is a cowboy wearing like a neon suit and doing breakdancing with two guns.
I'll give you my quick 30-second pitch on what the anime is and why it's so amazing. So it's actually about bounty hunters in space. So they're space.
I wasn't far off.
They're space bounty hunters, but like space is pretty much like the Old West kind of.
Okay.
And they have like a lot of that like old spaghetti western type of feel. With the anime. And it's iconic, and I'm pumped that the music and the soundtrack and this was amazing back in the day.
So it's
huge to get him back on.
Yeah, what does the bebop have to? What does that mean?
That's the name of the ship.
Oh, okay.
So the name of the ship, the name of the spaceship that they're on is called the Bebop.
Gotcha.
Let's talk about. We just reviewed it a couple months back, or a couple weeks back. It felt like months. Cruella de Vil. So the movie Cruella is getting a sequel film. And this was announced only 2 weeks after the original came out. So Disney must be happy with the streaming, in theaters plus the streaming numbers. So it is going to get a sequel. The director Craig Gillespie. Screenwriter Tony McNamara, they're coming back on. Emma Stone is expected to return. How do you feel about this?
I knew it was going to happen. I probably won't be in any rush to see it because it's just not a movie for me. Like we had discussed, if you haven't watched it or listened to it, go and check it out. But we just rated it average. It was just one of those things where it was an entertaining watch. It's meant for a certain group of people and kids, and it did its job, but I don't think it was good enough to warrant a sequel, but we knew it was going to happen because they set it up for it in the first film. So
Yeah, and we mentioned before, it's a very different Cruella and a very different story. So I'm, whatever. I'll keep my eyes open, see where they take the story.
Yeah.
If it's well written, then I'll check it out.
Right.
Let's get into. I think you may have added this one. So the Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It.
Wednesday weekend.
Yeah, the past weekend box office, it did very well.
It was going to do well because it's a Conjuring movie and
not much competition still.
Yeah, not much competition. Unfortunately, if you go to my spin-off Instagram and read the review, I only thought meh of it.
Yeah.
6.5 I rated it. It was...
So 6.5 out of 10?
Yeah, and it was okay. It did what it needed to do. It wasn't too scary. It was a little different than The Conjuring. I was hoping they would turn it into like a courtroom case / horror movie.
Yep.
No courtroom shit at all. So that was a big bummer, but it was okay. If you like the Conjuring universe, definitely check it out.
And you've got a
this
back
was
to
a
back
fun
here.
month.
So Evil Dead news.
Speaking of horror, demons, and all the likes, Evil Dead the game trailer is dropped, and for our we don't show enough love to the horror fans of this podcast, so just wanted to point out that they dropped the trailer. It looks really cool. You can play as Ash and some of the other people. You can also play as the demon or a few demons, and unfortunately for me, it looks just like I thought it would, a Friday the 13th clone, and that's okay. It's a good weekend jam session with your friends, but other than that, I just don't think I would have liked to see a solo game, single player adventure type horror game. But overall, if you're into it, if you like Evil Dead, if you like video games, look at this.
Cool. That about wraps up the news at random. Brian, you ready to talk about the God of Mischief?
I'm ready to react.
Alrighty. Time for our random reaction of episode 1 of Loki. Again, streaming on Disney Plus if you want to go and find where you can watch it. And I highly recommend you do. Right off the bat, we should mention we are going to be talking spoilers.
Yeah.
So if you have not seen episode 1 of Loki, and also if you've not seen many of the other properties of the MCU, just, watch. I mean, you could get through all that shit in what? A month?
Yeah, right?
If you just binged it.
So I got it on the videos. I have to remember. I got to put like a spoiler warning.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for people watching the video,
You gonna add one to this one?
Yeah.
All right, so 3, 2, 1. Okay. Here comes the giant spoiler warning tag.
Right here.
So, right off the bat, before we even get into our reaction, in my opinion, this was the MCU show I was the most excited about when it was initially announced.
Yeah.
So we had the WandaVision announcement. We knew the Falcon Winter Soldier was coming, and we knew Loki was coming. The other two, I was kind of like, man, I don't care as much about these characters. But Tom Hiddleston as Loki, dude, the charisma just bleeds through the screen.
And as D.B. Cooper, apparently.
Yes. That's amazing.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that. But, I mean, and then, WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier's credit, it did build those characters up. It made me care about them more.
Yep.
But watching this episode reminded me, I'm like, God damn, dude. Tom Hiddleston just fucking nails this role.
He hits it out of the park.
So, right off the bat, it kicks back in to the scene we saw in the original Avengers film. And then again in Infinity War, when they're going, or I should say in Endgame.
When they go back in time, Endgame.
In Endgame. So when they're actually going back in time when, New York is getting attacked, getting the stones, and then Loki sees the alternate Loki sees all this happening, grabs the Tesseract, bounces out, and that's where shit starts getting weird.
Yes.
So he gets visited by the TVA. Which is the the Time
Variant Association?
Yeah. So the TVA shows up and they're like, you broke the timeline. They grab him, they bring him to this world, and so when they show up at the TVA, I don't know about you, but you've played some Control. So I've also played the game Control. Anybody out there listening that hasn't played this, did you agree with me on this?
Yes, yeah.
I was getting like the entire setup of the TVA and everything Loki has to go through, how it's all like just really weird and offsetting. And, you know, again, it's called the TVA. And then in Control, it's called the FBC, the Federal Bureau of Control. And I was getting very similar vibes.
That and Fallout.
Fallout as well.
I mean, they even have Pit Boys, like scanning shit. I'm like, that's a Pit Boy right there.
Yeah, and the overall like kind of comedic tone almost felt like he was in a vault.
Like the robot in the elevator.
Yeah,
it was
exactly.
Like, holy shit, you know.
And the animated cartoon that comes up, and it's like it's something right out of Fallout.
Absolutely.
So I'm pretty confident that whoever's working on this show, they're video game fans.
They have to be, yeah.
They've got to be video game fans.
I was like Owen Wilson. Whoa.
Whoa. So we'll get into Owen Wilson soon. But I was excited, and I am excited to see time travel hijinks.
Yeah.
So with, you know, WandaVision, we got we thought we were getting more of a multiverse, which didn't really come to be. You know, it was kind of... Not yet.
Yeah.
Not yet. But, you know, people were more looking at multiverse theory. And I now looking at this show, I actually think it was smart to start with something like WandaVision because it kind of eased people into that.
Yeah.
Like, kind of expanding their minds a little bit.
WandaVision was like just the tip. Yeah.
And I think Loki's going to just
he's gonna
bury
he's going to be the shaft. Woo! But hopefully they handle it right, though, because even Endgame...
you got to handle the shaft right.
You got to handle the shaft right. Shaft and balls. No, but...
Take notes, ladies.
Even Endgame was good, but even they juggled the time travel thing a little sloppy.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it was definitely a bit fucky in that film.
Fucky, I like that word.
Oh, yeah. But I'm excited to see more of that kind of time travel shit. Yeah. And, dude, they can do a lot with
I was going to say, I'm excited to see the branches off the timeline and what they find out.
You know, I'm curious to see now, like, because... You know, we're gonna get into it. Yeah. We're gonna get into it. We'll keep going. Into it. So you mentioned Owen Wilson. Wow.
Wow.
His so he is Agent Mobius.
Okay, do you like hurting people?
I thought he was excellent.
He was. Yeah. You honestly, I thought we were just gonna get Owen Wilson again from every other, in which we kind of did, but there was a little niche to him. I liked it. I liked it a lot.
Yeah. I just the character, the sincerity of the character. And to me, the best part of this episode was honestly just the good 10 minutes or so of just Owen Wilson and Tom Hiddleston at a table across from one another, just hashing shit out.
Definitely.
And, you know, there's definitely chemistry there, which is great. That's great for this series because I have a feeling they're going to be working really close together as time goes on. So... And I'm just kind of highlighting shit, Brian. If you want to chime in at any time.
Yeah, no, we're going to touch on some of the stuff I'm thinking. But, yeah, that scene alone, I think that's why a majority of the episode, not a majority, but they spent a good chunk on it in that interview because if I was the director and I saw the chemistry between the two, I'd be like, all right, we're extending this. Let's go with it.
And it was cool. So, I mean, Loki, again, he shows up at the TVA. I'm a god, you know, this is all bullshit, yada, yada. They're dragging him through. A bunch of comedic shit happens. I love the scene, too, when he's trying to use his powers.
Yeah.
And he's like, don't look at me.
I was waiting for, like, little performance anxiety, Loki. But nope, we didn't get it. Yeah, that was really funny. And, yeah, you're getting the feeling while everything's happening, like, wow, Loki has no power here. What else is happening in this building, and how powerful are the TVA really?
Well, you know, we're about to find out.
Yeah.
So they start showing again Loki his past, and then everything leading up to it. And Owen Wilson's kind of like not really interrogating him, but more just having a conversation, just saying, "Hey, like, you know, do you actually like enjoy hurting people? It's like, why do you do this?" And Loki's like, you know, I'm the god of mischief. You know, I blah 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 blah.
Yeah,
the typical Loki bullshit.
Deflecting.
Yeah. But eventually, Loki does his little escape, gets to run away, and I thought, like you mentioned, like the power level of the TVA.
Yeah.
He finally breaks away. He gets into this room, again, with one of the funnier scenes. It's one of like the intern guys. He's like, show me what I need to, or I'll gut you like a fish.
Like a fish.
And he's like, what's a fish? Loki's like, how do you not know what a fish is?
And he's like, well, I really need to know what a fish is before I comply with anything. Like, what am I in for?
And I'm actually hoping there's more of that
Do I
character.
want to turn into a fish or not?
Yeah, that guy was hilarious. I liked him.
He was.
But Loki's asking where the Tesseract is. He finally gets it back, but the drawer he opens up, it's full of Infinity Stones, like multiple copies.
And the guy who doesn't know what a fish is like, oh, those? Yeah, those are Infinity Stones. We just use those as paperweights around here.
He's like, oh, yeah, they're all over. And that's when Loki realizes, and he gets up and he starts walking around. That's when it dawns on him, like, holy shit, like...
He's like, is this the all-powerful...
Yeah, is this the
force?
ultimate power?
Is this the ultimate power in the universe? That scene hit harder than it had any right to.
Yeah.
You're like, holy shit, I feel what Loki is feeling right now. Huh.
Yeah,
I mean, it was crazy.
Especially where, the entire MCU we've come to know and love, all of these films and TV shows, most of them have been based on these Infinity Stones, and each one of them is like powerful enough to borderline level a universe, and they are paperweights to the TVA.
That's a good way to transition into a new phase. Like, hey, we showed you something very powerful that could destroy galaxies and the universe and everything else. Now we're on to something else. Like something bigger, more powerful, and heavier than we did in phase 4 or whatever it was. So
yeah, and I didn't think that Marvel or the MCU would want to do that in a TV series.
Nope.
I thought they would more so want to do it in one of the movies on the big screen.
Yeah.
But this is the Loki property, and out of all of the TV films, I think they knew this one had the best chance to pull in like everyone.
Yeah.
Because Loki is by far, he's like one of the top tier when it comes to probably popularity wise.
And how are you going to write in any of the other TV series to include like the Infinity Stones and something more powerful than them? Loki was the good setup for it.
So another thing I love, so at this point, Loki's like, fuck. He ends up using the time manipulation thing.
Yeah.
That's how he's bouncing all around. I love the scene when he puts it on the guard.
The girl.
The girl, and he keeps just zapping her back, and then he's like spinning it, and she's like, no!
Because I would totally do that.
Oh, yeah.
And then I'd make the Wayne's World noises like, diddle-doo, diddle-doo, diddle-doo. Oh, he's such an asshole, but at the same time, you just can't help but love him.
God of mischief, man.
Yep.
So he ends up going back to that room and sitting down, and this to me was the thing that made me the happiest probably out of the entire episode, because this was one of my biggest concerns going into this show, was he sits down and his little tape rail is still in the thing where that, Owen Wilson's character was showing him earlier, Mr. Agent Mobius, and he goes back and he hits play, and then he gets to watch everything that the prime Loki, the Loki that we knew that died, got to experience before his death, all the way up until his death. And, he got to see his parents killed again.
Got to see himself killed.
He got to see himself get killed, but also like bonding with his brother.
Yep.
And then one little thing too, I don't know if other people noticed, the very last image that shows memory on the screen, it wasn't his neck getting broken by Thanos in his throat. It was actually Thor cradling him, saying like, I love you. And shit like that. Then it goes to final, which means that, there was some semblance of he was still somewhat alive.
Yeah, right.
When that happened.
Well,
and that
like
was
Freddy Krueger in the Nightmare on Elm Street remake, if he is speaking true, the brain lives for 3 minutes after you die. We have so much fun to be had, or something like that. So
yeah, so I thought that was cool, but the thing I loved the most about this, and you see him get emotional, he's like crying at the end of it.
Little bitch.
I was so worried that we were going to get like this bullshit, like the variant Loki, which isn't the Loki we know, because he didn't have any of that character growth.
He didn't build up to that. Yeah.
He only had the loss against the Avengers, and then after that, we didn't get all that other shit. you know, with the other Thor films, with Ragnarok, with everything else that happened that built him up to the character that, you know, he was kind of an anti-hero still.
He was going to kill Thanos to save himself and brother, you know.
Exactly. And I was like, oh, man, you know, we really got to go through this. They got it right out of the way.
It was a little convenient that he looked through his whole life in a matter of like 2.5 minutes. You would think he'd have to do a lot of fast forwarding to get to that point, but I can overlook that.
I mean, he did some. He skipped the cliff notes. He went to the... But... I like that. I enjoyed that.
No, that was a really powerful scene, for sure.
And then you get, you know, Mobius again coming in, Owen Wilson's character, sitting down with Loki, asking him those questions again, like, you know, do you really like hurting people? And he admits, he's like, no.
Yeah.
He's like, I really don't.
Nope. It's part of the illusion.
And then he brings up the fact that, you know, the TVA is hunting someone, and it is another variant of Loki.
I didn't see that coming.
Which I didn't either, and
then it made sense.
I still don't know how much I buy that.
Yeah,
like it seemed
a Loki that just straight up murders everybody.
Yeah, and
even though he's an asshole, I don't know.
And especially if it just doesn't make sense that something as powerful as we've seen with the TVA, which can effectively shut down Infinity Stones.
Yeah,
like we know what Loki's power and scope is, so I don't know.
It is a variant, so I guess it's like the fact that they are the Time Variant Association, whatever, gives them a lot of playroom with what they can do with a character. So this Loki could have lived another 2,000 years after the events of Endgame and became like a red horned devil for fucking no reason.
Well, that was the going joke in WandaVision. Everybody kept waiting for Mephisto to show up. And I liked in this episode when Owen Wilson's character with the TVA, they end up going to like a church.
Yeah.
And they're looking where the variant struck.
That's what,
people killed, and he came and like manipulated the town.
Yeah.
And the little girl comes in. He's like, who did this? And she points up at the devil.
Yes.
And that's when I was like, oh, shit, they're doing Mephisto.
I'm looking, well, see, that's what I thought. And then at the back of my mind, when the episode ended, I'm like, oh, the horns and the mask and the Viking helmet.
Yes. Yep. It's Loki with the horns.
So, but you're right. I have a gut feeling that there's a lot more to it and that it's probably not Loki. And then we get that end scene.
And to me, it's like, if Loki really is that dangerous as one of the variants, like, how can he... how does Mobius have this, I don't want to say a hunch, but how can he even trust bringing this Loki into the fold when to hunt down the other one, or maybe he doesn't have any options left, I don't know.
Right? But yeah, I mean, you keep Infinity Stones as paperweights, but a Loki that we've seen is not nearly powerful enough for the TVA. A variant of him is destroying the TVA. It was a little bit weird, which is why, like you said, I think there's a lot more to it, and it might not be what we think it is.
So, towards the end of the episode, we get that other thing with, and we saw this a little bit earlier, too, with the TVA actually hopping into timelines and trying to do the course correction thing. And again, they call it the sacred timeline. I don't know if we've mentioned that yet.
The sacred timeline is like Earth 2. Of Marvel,
exactly. The prime timeline.
The prime time.
The prime time.
It's prime timeline, bitch.
Who the hell was in the black hood at the end of the episode? I mean, are they insinuating?
This is what throws me off. If you have a variant of Loki, you're gonna reveal him at the end of the episode.
Yep.
Right? I mean,
you would think
they would reveal him, but they did not. And the hooded character looked very badass and completely torched a bunch of innocent people. But then they stole the reset grenade, whatever the fuck it was. And that's the person who's we're thinking has been doing it all along.
Either that or they're working
for
the person we think is doing it.
Maybe a shapeshifter.
I don't know, but I went back and I actually I rewatched that scene. And you can kind of see, you know, the overall like silhouette, but the build of the person in the cloak.
Yeah.
And the build almost looks female.
That's what I was thinking.
And I watched it a couple different times, especially with the turning and the angles, and it just looks like the overall build of it, more of a slim, which, again, I understand Tom Hiddleston, he's silky smooth. He does have that slim, kind of tall, lanky build.
And he's gender fluid now.
Is he really?
Yeah. You didn't see the big news?
No.
Marvel, for Gay Pride Month, has revealed that Loki is gender fluid.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. So.
Maybe then. Maybe.
Oh, God.
God of mischief.
That worries me. Oh, Jesus.
It could be.
He's having an identity crisis.
So, we don't know, but we're probably going to find out.
But it seems like they would have been a little more straightforward if it was just a simple Loki variant. That's my opinion.
So, overall, thought it was a great episode. Before we get into post-episode stuff and theories and all this stuff like that, why don't we give it a quick review score?
Random rating.
I know it's technically not a. This isn't a random review. It's more of a reaction, but I still feel it's worth giving our review here. So on a 0 out of 10
now, and then maybe at the end.
So on a 0 out of 10, I think. Did you go first last time, or did I?
I think I did last time. Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to give this a 9.5 out of 10. I really I enjoyed it. I enjoy what they're setting up. I think again, the dual terrific acting. You've got Tom Hiddleston, you've got Owen Wilson just hitting it out of the park. Thought some of the ancillary characters were interesting. I like it. I really do. And I like, again, we mentioned we're big fans of the games Control, Fallout, and it seems like they're pulling in a lot of that type of feel.
Yeah.
And I'm curious to see where this goes. But for a first episode, thumbs up. I'm drawn in. What about you?
Yes, sir. Okay, just to not be on the same wavelength as you, because we've been doing that lately, I'm going to give it a 9.3.
Oh.
Yeah, because it almost hit a 9.5 for me, but not quite a 9. I'm going to give it a 9.3.
All right.
Now, honestly, it was really good. The attention to detail was crazy. The introduction of the, I always forget it, TVA was great. And then we forgot to mention the scene where Loki looks out at the TVA headquarters.
It's awesome.
And he's like, I thought magic wasn't allowed here. And Owen Wilson's like, just strutting. There isn't. And you realize all that shit is just technological. Like, they have the power of time. They have technology. And that was really cool. So, yeah, 9.3. And I'm very excited to see what they're going to bring.
All right, so now that we're past the review, let's talk about, like, theoretical things, too. So, what the hell is going to happen? And
that's kind of the best part about it. With the TVA, anything could happen.
And my thing is, like, would they ever go so far? Again, we keep talking about the sacred timeline.
Yeah.
What happens in this show, could it actually rewrite or change the prime timeline or the sacred timeline? I don't know if they would do that.
Yeah, that'd be
in a
really
TV
hard.
series to all of their movies. I mean, that would be a pretty big step. And I mean, I guess the bigger question with this version of Loki is, will this version actually return to the sacred timeline? And if so, at what point in time does he return? Or at the end of this, is he either going to stay working for the TVA or is he just going to get erased? Is he going to die? Is he going to...
I think they have, if the show keeps going the way the first episode went, they have a gold mine on their hands, and they're probably going to want to keep it going. I'd say we have at least a couple to a few seasons before they decide to throw him back in the timeline or erase him, period.
Yeah, because, I mean, to me, if you put him again, they keep saying that anything that's a deviation from the sacred timeline, they immediately correct and try to just destroy. So, I mean, if you stick him... If he does everything he's supposed to do, you can't just plop him back in the main timeline because he is a variant.
Yeah.
And by their own definition, that would screw up the sacred timeline. You can't see those timekeepers. And speaking of the timekeepers, or the Time Lords, is it the timekeepers?
Timekeepers, yeah.
I believe.
Yeah.
So it's the three of them. We haven't seen them yet. We don't know who they are.
And they're obviously powerful. So
we would assume
you would assume they are, yeah.
But again, you don't know. I mean, this could this could be a Wizard of Oz type scenario too, where you finally pull the curtain back and maybe not.
No, yeah, maybe it's just a senator on top of a president on top of a shadow agency, and everything just spun out of control, and there's no real time controllers or masters or whatever the fuck they are.
Could you imagine if at the very the finale episode, Loki he ends up taking out his variant or the bad variant. Owen Wilson, whatever, the Mobius, Agent Mobius is you did great. Mm-hmm. The Timekeepers actually want to meet you personally to thank you. So Loki struts in, goes to meet them, and sitting up there in the 3 boots looking down, it's 3 more versions of Loki.
Yeah, right.
So the highest ones are variants.
So here's how it plays out in my head, right? Mobius walks him into this courtroom of justice of time or whatever, and they're like you said, they're all sitting up there. It's like an old white guy, some young black guy, and a woman, right?
Yeah.
And then Mobius knows he can't be in there. This is only for Loki only. So he goes, all right. Well, whoa, I know, right? We'll leave you here to deal with them. Wow. And he walks out, and then each one, whoomp, 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 they all transform into Lokis. That would be pretty badass.
Yeah, and it's just welcome, brother.
Yeah. Oh, that would be cool. But I don't think they're going to go that way. Yeah.
I mean, but it's a theory, man.
I think they're saving
theorizing
the Time Lords for Doctor Strange.
I think
that makes more sense in the Madness. What's the new movie?
The Multiverse of Madness.
Multiverse of Madness than it does in Loki.
Yeah, and I'm just curious. I mean, there has to be, with how much of a influence the TVA apparently has over everything, they have to be involved in the Multiverse of Madness and WandaVision going forward.
How can they not be? Because, God, what's her name in Doctor Strange?
The Sorcerer Supreme?
Yeah, Sorcerer Supreme. She literally explains, so she has some understanding of how the sacred timeline works and how the branches work off of it. She has to have a connection to them. It just has to be.
Yeah, I'll be curious. So, another theory I wrote in here, and I don't even know if this is valid or maybe way too out there, but I mean, strictly hypothetical. So the Marvel movie timeline that we've all seen and experienced in the theaters, that we've watched and we love, and we are assuming that is the sacred timeline. What if it's not? What if everything we've seen, what if that was the variant?
Yeah.
And
what I'm worried about is this opens up Tony Stark coming back and
exactly.
But don't do that.
I want, and that's another issue. Because we see, it's such a trope, and you do see it in comics all the time. You see it in anime a lot too, where these main characters, they get killed off.
Yeah.
Dragon Ball is notorious for this. They build up this character's death. It's awful. And then within 10 episodes, oh, wait a minute. We have magical balls. We can wish him back.
Supernatural does it in 3 episodes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean,
sometimes in the same episode.
Yeah. So, I want these deaths to stick.
Yes.
I want them to stay. There's still clever ways you can bring them back in a very limited role.
Yeah. And
still keep the impact of the original sacrifice or death, but I don't know, man. They could go
far.
They could go to some crazy goddamn places.
They can. I don't think they'll go as far to say that wasn't the sacred timeline, but anything's possible right now. And that's talking about a time travel show, time manipulation show, is the theories could literally be endless as to what can happen from here on out until we get at least halfway through the season. But it makes it a whole lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, man.
Yeah.
I really am. I really, really am. All right, anything else you want to cover?
No, I mean, for one episode, I think we covered a good amount.
I agree, my friend.
Yes, sir. I'm excited to see more and see what can spin off of this show and then off of that show and then off of that. It's like branches of the timeline.
MCU, just printing that money. By extension, Disney.
Make a ring.
God damn, man. They can do no wrong with this right now.
If only, right?
Well, it's been fun. We'll be back. Same time, same channel?
Yes,
Maybe not same time.
Same random.
You're the variant. Later.
Later.